Hello, everybody, and welcome to class for Saturday, February 15th at 1 p.m. It looks like everybody is here today. If you, for some reason, have to leave early or for any virtual learners we have, please make sure that you are writing down notes of the lesson and that you email them to me before midnight tomorrow. Let's go ahead and do a quick quality check, and please help me out here. Please raise your hand if you see that I have the red record button in the top left. Please raise your hand if you see the words quality check at the top of the slide, and please raise your hand if you can hear me speaking. All right, great, thank you. And this is just to help you guys get ready for class. Please go ahead and make sure that your cell phones are turned off. Please make sure that your door is shut. And please make sure that others around you know not to disturb you here for the next few minutes. All right, our learning objectives for today. At the end of the lesson, I want you guys to be able to identify ways that technology helps enhance and drive communities of inquiry, define the three independent elements of the community of inquiry framework. And I want you to be able to explain ways in which a typical face-to-face class can implement the community of inquiry framework. So real quick, I want you to pause and ponder in your own mind, what does inquiry mean and how does it apply to our learning communities? Would anybody care to share how they think inquiry matches up when we talk about building learning communities in our classrooms? All right, Jim, you like to share?
I think inquiry is asking questions, trying to find out the inner workings of what you're learning so that you better understand it.
Yeah, so when we look at inquiry, that is searching out, discovering, finding that new information, and challenging what we know and what others know. And that's where our learning communities come in. They're meant to be social, they're meant to be collaborative, and they're meant to challenge each other's own ideas and build upon that. And that's really kind of the core of what inquiry is. So in our previous weeks, you're going to notice that a lot of the stuff that we talked about in week 1 and a lot of the stuff we talked about in week 3, it's going to come together here towards the end. We've talked about learning communities. What is a good framework for creating the learning community? We talked about blending online classes and face-to-face classes. What is a good framework for being able to do all that? And that's really going to come together when we start to talk about with inquiry and communities of inquiry. So inquiry is the process of creating that knowledge, according to Dewey. Communities of inquiry allow us to create that knowledge and learn knowledge through collaboration with other people. Our students in our learning communities working together to create and learn that new knowledge. That's what real community of inquiry is. Communities of inquiry are greatly improved by the accessibility of both information and communication technologies. This is where, being in that true one-to-one device environment in the classroom is very, very beneficial when we're trying to create these communities of inquiry to better give students access to information, to allow students to be able to better communicate with not only their classmates, but with us when we're not in the classroom. These really help build on that community of inquiry framework. So let's pause and reflect here real quick. I want you to use you can use the draw tool, you can use the shapes tool, but what I want you to do is, which of the following technology improvements is not considered a benefit of the community of inquiry? Which one doesn't really give us a very large benefit? Yeah, so it looks like most of you answered correctly, tracking attendance. So we specifically mentioned information gathering or information technologies and communication technologies, and then of course our lesson delivery. Technology allows us as teachers to deliver lessons in different ways so that we can shape things differently. Tracking attendance, yeah, technology helps with that, but it doesn't really play into the whole community of inquiry framework. All right, next we're going to talk about cognitive presence. We're going to talk about the 3 different presences that make up this community of inquiry framework. And the first one is cognitive, and this is how students are going to engage with the content according to Garrison. How do they engage with it? What are they doing? How are they going about, exploring this new knowledge or finding it and building upon these new ideas? That's what cognitive is. But just as importantly, since we've been talking about these learning communities the past few weeks, next to cognitive, we also have that social presence. This is how students are going to engage with other students while they are engaging in that cognitive presence. When they're digging into this content, how are they engaging with these other students? How are they working with these other students? And how is this social presence really building that learning community where they all benefit off of each other? And then our third presence is the teacher presence. And this is simply where the teacher creates the goals and directions for students, and it's the plan that they create for students to engage in that content. Now, it's how are we going about this learning? How am I planning this lesson? What are the activities and projects and the rubrics and all that I'm coming up with to help guide these students through this process? And this can also be, can students be part of this teacher presence? Absolutely. If you have student leaders who are leading project groups, they are also part of this teacher presence. All right, so let's pause and reflect real quick. You can see here I've matched cognitive, social, and teacher up with specific colors and squares. And for the first one here, I want you to circle the definition that matches with cognitive with a red draw or a red shape. So which definition over here on the right, and I'll circle that and let's do yellow, which one of these definitions matches with the red cognitive? Just circle it in the correct color. Good. Yeah. So cognitive, the good definition for that is how students are going to engage in the content. Which one matches with the social presence? Let's color that in green. Well, I get what you're all saying. Yes. So social is going to be how students engage with each other. Good. And then circle the next one in blue. Which one matches up with the teacher presence? Correct. So the teacher presence is going to be where we are designing goals and lessons. Good job. All right. So the main idea of this lesson is implementing this community of inquiry framework. Now, the community of inquiry framework was originally designed to kind of help structure online learning environments. It was meant for the online classroom. But in reality, this is a type of framework and way of thinking that can be used in blended classrooms and in face-to-face classrooms. So this isn't something that is solely for the online environment. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on a case study. So I'm going to paste a link in our chat box, which you can see right here, and go ahead and open that up. Group 1 is going to be Esteban and TJ, and Group 2 is going to be Rebecca and James. You'll see that you have your own group slide. And I want you guys to go ahead and get those opened up and get on your specific slide. And I'll start to go over what this case study entails. So I want you all to imagine you just had, let's say, a staff meeting, and your school wants to start to implement this community of inquiry framework in the classroom, and you have maybe an older teacher, they're kind of stuck in their ways, they're kind of confused, they don't really know what to do, and they're asking you for help. So they're asking you how they can, one, implement this community of inquiry framework in their classroom, what changes can they make to their current classroom, and they're also asking you in what ways can they use technology to help integrate this framework as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up your breakout groups here. Keep me in the main room, and I'll open those up right now. And I want you guys to go ahead and join into your groups and start working on your tables, and we'll meet back here in about 3 minutes, okay? Go ahead and get started. It looks like nobody's in group 1. TJ's in group 1. Esteban, can you hear me? Esteban, please talk if you can hear me. Why do we only have 1 person in group 1, but we got 3 people in group 2? He is.
Uh-oh, what happened?
I'm pulling you guys all back into the main room, and we're going to try this again, okay? So I'm going to make sure I am in the main room. Rebecca is in group 2. Esteban and TJ is in group 1. Start. Okay. So again, Esteban and TJ, make sure you are in group 1. Jim, you're not in group 1, you're in group 2.
I know that. I hit the wrong button.
All right.
Hamill, give me a break.
Okay, we'll set up another 3 minutes. All right, now I will open up the application share screen. right. Let's go back to our original case study page. All right.
Clickers. The clickers are
Okay,
here.
so everybody, your microphones will be on. I'm pulling you back in. All right. So let's start with group 2. What were some changes that you suggested for this particular teacher? Who would like to share? Rebecca.
Hi. Stuff that Jim and I talked about were making things more collaborative, and we thought instead of, so for example, for cognitive presence, to make it more interactive by doing activities instead of just doing the lectures. And as far as incorporating technology, we thought using Kahoot or some kind of game-oriented software to make it more fun for the students. And for social presence, instead of working on worksheets individually, maybe working on group worksheets as a team, and to incorporate technology into that, maybe using Google Slides to have the worksheets be uploaded to a Google Doc or a Google Slide that they can work on together. And then lastly, for the teacher presence, instead of doing and asking the teacher to do all of the lectures, having the students do things seminar style. That was Jim's idea, which I thought was a great idea, having the students teach the class, and then incorporating technology by asking them to create a PowerPoint or a Google Slides to make the presentation.
Yeah, I think those are all great ideas. Group 1, do you have anything that you guys came up with for how you would suggest that this teacher change their class?
Yeah, we came up with a few since we were still trying to figure out how we were battling the grouping. But for social presence, we kind of said, we have more group discussions and be able to have students interact with each other instead of just doing trading grade, kind of partnering up. It's like with another person, just one. But if they did more of a group discussion kind of thing, would be very beneficial. For teacher presence, we said hands-on activities to help develop a higher skill set as they learn. If she implemented more hands-on stuff instead of just doing lectures and try and give, cover everything that she needs to cover, if she actually kind of implemented more activities like that would help. Technology-wise, we went ignitive presence. We said, well, clickers, e-learning technology as well. That's kind of what we came up with, kind of.
Yep. So yeah, that's all very, very good. You can kind of see based off how this teacher's class was set up in your group slides. It was all it was lecture oriented. It was very just maybe not necessarily, we don't know what the worksheets look like, but maybe very busy work oriented and very, for the most part, it was kind of just single student focused. And then additionally trying to cover all the standards within a given year instead of prioritizing the most important. So maybe this teacher wasn't going in depth. Maybe they were just doing surface teaching and not doing in-depth teaching. So there's definitely a bunch of suggestions you can make just by looking at this, community of inquiry framework with how they can alter their class and alter how they plan for it. And then technology-wise, using Kahoot, using some sort of classroom, like Google Classroom or the Google Docs, Google Slides for different activities, to kind of help build that communication outside of class and build all these activities around the technology that's available to them. Very good. All right. So what have we learned today? We've learned how technology helps enhance and drive communities of inquiry. We've learned 3 elements that help make up the community of inquiry framework. And we've learned how to implement a community of inquiry framework in a traditional face-to-face class setting. And these were the resources that we used today in class. So we talked about Dewey from his experience of education and our classroom textbook from Garrison. And that's going to be it, folks. class did run a little bit longer today, so I do apologize to anybody watching the recording today, but sometimes we do have these technical difficulties that we do need to work through, but that will be it. If anybody has any questions for me, please feel free to stay afterwards and ask away, but if you're good to go, please feel free to enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody.